Welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody's doing fantastically well. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast, episode 183. And I have the legendary Adrian Falk, advertising and PR agency mogul, here with me today to talk about his brand new book, Believe, Start Living the Life You Have Always Dreamed of Today. How are you doing, Adrian?
Good, Darren. As you're just saying that, I'm thinking, you know what? I need to employ you to be my publicist. I feel you've done an awesome job promoting me. So
thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But I thought I'd give everybody a little bit more of an insight into Adrian's story, because I'm fascinated to hear more about it myself. From moving to New York City at the age of 20 to creating his own advertising and PR agency at the age of 24, Adrian Falk, founder of Believe Advertising and PR, has always had the odds stacked against him. Adrian is the recent author of a best-selling book, Believe, Start Living the Life You Have Always Dreamed of Today, where he shares his strategies for changing your life physically, spiritually, and emotionally through the power of self-belief. Now you can start living the life you have always dreamed of. So welcome, Adrian Falk.
Thank you so much. And thank you to your viewers and followers for listening to this podcast as well.
Thank you, sir. But I mean, let's jump in. What a story. Age 20. Tell us more about how this all came about and, the whole journey.
Sure. So I've always realized, I think early on in life, that we're all on one planet just for a short amount of time. And what we do with this time, it's up to us ultimately. And I thought, I never want to just drift through life. I always want to, turn the ordinary into extraordinary. And I know that sounds really cliche. It all started through my career choice. I chose my profession through Melrose Place, which I think you probably remember.
I used to watch Melrose Place religiously.
The sad thing is, Darren, as I'm telling this story, a lot more people are younger and younger, and they're just like, blankly look at me. It's like, Melrose Place?
Yeah. You're Googling Melrose Place right now.
Right now. Google, Melrose Place is is trending on Google, I think, right? So for those who don't know what Melrose Place is, it was a soap series set in the 90s in an advertising agency. And that's where I chose my career profession from. The problem was, in the late 90s, there was really no advertising degrees. So I ended up doing a Bachelor of Economics degree, majoring in marketing at Sydney Uni, which was probably the most driest 3 years of my life. Fortunately, I was always good in maths. So I came out knowing a whole lot of maths and econometrics and statistics, but nothing about advertising, which is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think what got me through the last year was I had this deep desire to move to New York. I don't know, maybe it was all these Seinfeld episodes I was also watching, in the 90s as well. And it's just like, you've got to go to New York. I literally had this voice in my head. It's really weird. And I always tell people, I kind of live my life twice over. It's me now going back to the future, telling my younger self of what I need to do to get where I am today. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
And I talk a little bit more about that in the book. So I then, the last 6 months of my degree, started emailing all these ad agencies in New York, and I landed a job on Fifth Avenue. They didn't know who I was. I had a 3-month working visa, which was accessible to anyone who had just finished full-time studies. It was a J1 visa, it's called at the time. Yep. And you could literally work anywhere, which was amazing. So a week after finishing uni, I packed my bags. I remember it was the 8th of December. And I moved to New York without knowing anyone. It was the most craziest and scariest time of my life. And it was a real roller coaster. And I loved every single minute of it. And and I was literally doing amazing things over there. I was doing events with people like Cindy Crawford, who you will remember, but some people may not even.
Completely, I do.
I know. I literally was also helping Grand Theft Auto 2 get off the ground through Rockstar Games, which is now a multi-billion-dollar business. And the ad agency put me on the account because there was a bunch of crazy English guys in train spotting. And it'd be like, well, you're the closest to what we have. And they kind of like your accent. So yeah, you're just going to manage this account. And I used to go to E3 game computer gaming show every year in LA. And I was literally living my best life as a 20-something-year-old in the States, which was amazing. Like every day it was eventful and colorful and something that I'll always remember.
Wow. And a quick question. I mean, listen to your story. Not only did you succeed in finding a role in America, in New York, but you did it from here.
Yes.
And how many people did you actually email before you got a yes? And what was that like?
Good question. See, there's another thing I swear by is the law of numbers, maybe being like good at maths. So anything you do, it all comes down to numbers. So yes, I had to reach out to a whole lot of ad agencies for someone to take me on. But I just knew if I reach out to enough, someone will say yes. Brilliant. And I guess that comes to then how I started my business. Everyone goes, well, why did you leave New York where you spent all this time and energy trying to get there? And after a few years, then you decide to come back. And it'd be like, I guess then the next part to my life was I knew that I was and I loved where I work. In some ways, the culture in corporate life, as we probably know, you're just a rat in the wheel. Yep. In order to get ahead, there's layers upon layers, especially in ad agency life, where there's a lot of red tape. In order to get ahead in life, you've got to break out on your own. Yeah. So that's where I thought, you know what? I need to do this for myself. I've learned so much exciting stuff, but wouldn't it be great if I come back and implement everything I'm learning over here into Australia and setting my own business? So I came back to Australia and started my own company. And that's why I called myself Believe, because everyone thought I was crazy. No one believed in me. And the only thing I had was a whole lot of self-belief in myself. I had no clients. During the day, I would cold call people from the Yellow Pages.
Wow.
I know. I literally started at the letter A and it took me 6 weeks to get my first client and then just build on from there. But it all came back to law of numbers once again. So I knew if I call 20 people a day, one person will say yes to me for a meeting. And then I would convert them pretty well because I could see my energy and enthusiasm and show them everything that I could do for them. At night, to make ends meet, I would work in a call center selling charity raffle tickets. So I used to be one of those annoying telemarketers say, hey, Darren, my name's Adrian. I'm calling on behalf of the Surf Life Saving Australia. And you're one of the lucky charity households to be selected in your area. We've got, that was my spiel that was still embedded in my brain to this day. And that's, again, was the law of numbers because I knew that if I call this many people, someone's going to hand me, and it's all legit, their credit card details over the phone and I'll be able to sell them some raffle tickets. And I thought, if I can sell raffle tickets to strangers over the phone, imagine if I then start selling them my services over the phone, I could do that probably a lot easier. And it just gave me faith and to know that I would be okay in doing this.
And where do you think that came from, that belief in yourself at that age that was so strong that you just knew I can do anything I want as long as I just put in the work, and eventually, if I do enough volume of activity, I'll get where I need to be?
I remember it started actually in last 2 years of high school. There was like a maths coach that I had, and there was a block of wood. Right. And we had to write down like our dreams of what we wanted to get for the HSC. And then we had to literally stand up in front of everyone and get our hand, and I have no karate experience, and smash that wood with our hands, right. And it was like this thick piece of pine wood. So then I think from then I realized, wow, if you believe anything strong enough, you can make it happen. And then just reading books like, there's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and creative visualization, the power of creative visualization. I was reading these books at the age of like 17 and 18. Oh my God. I know, which is crazy. It then made me realize that, I can do this. And also the incentive was at 24, I already had a mortgage, which I know was crazy because I started saving from it as a 12-year-old. To buy a house because I just knew that's what I had to do. And so I had a mortgage, and then I also had the motivation that I never wanted to work for anyone else for the rest of my life. As much as I enjoyed corporate life, I just knew I had to do this myself, and I wanted to be my own boss.
All right. And so you've been running your own agency since the age of 24.
Yes, I know. So now I'm 44, I'm 45 this year. And
incredible.
Just February last month, celebrated 20 years of
congratulations.
Kicked off. I know, right?
Congratulations. And how has that agency changed over the years? Has it changed a lot, or has it been quite a similar?
Absolutely. It's changed incredibly. But I think the world's changed for the better in some ways too. Now it's very fast paced in terms of the publicity side of things. So, you know, I can write a news story up for a client and possibly get it published within an hour or two, which is amazing. And then a few hours later, it has the potential to go viral. Like, so my story will be syndicated across sites. And I've done this before numerous times with clients. So anywhere from Fox News to Forbes picks it up, which is amazing. And the impact that has on someone's business, generating a whole lot of leads and sales and getting them out there on the international stage from, you know, that changes their life from, you know, within a few hours or a day. It's incredible. And, you know, e-commerce products that I work with, they literally, their website will crash when the story comes up and they will sell out of product, and then we'll just do it again and again. And I've done that for several different clients. Yeah.
That feeling of the power that you instill into that product or into that service and into that brand.
Yeah.
When you do that, must be an incredible reward to know that you did that. You crushed that server.
I get an adrenaline rush every time. And I think everyone always says to me, like, how long are you going to be doing this for? And I think until I stop having that feeling, then I'll continue going with what I'm doing, because I really do get a buzz, like every time I get someone into the media. Yeah.
That's awesome, mate. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to take a little sidestep because I want to talk a bit about your book, but we'll come back to your business
no worries.
As well for everybody. But tell us a bit more about the book. Why did you decide to write it? When did you think you were going to start writing a book? What was that journey like?
Sure. So I always knew I had a good tale in me, and I never wanted to, you know, you see these posts on, you know, the power of positivity on Facebook. It's like, you never want to die wondering. And that was my thought. And it's like, I just thought, if I don't do this now and start planning this out, who knows what's going to happen in life? And I just had this desire, just like I had that calling to go to the US, I had that calling to write this book. And so it was a year process for me. Wow. I had no idea what I was doing. I literally would spend nights just writing stuff up. I had no idea how to self-publish. I did the whole thing. So if any of your followers need help, I'm always happy to give them a guidance on what I did.
Definitely.
You know, how do you buy a barcode on like the back of the book? You know,
here's the book. Here's the front for everybody who's looking. There it is. Believe by Adrian Falk. I love it. I love it. The Empire State Building.
Yeah. So my office where I worked on Fifth Avenue, every day I would look out the window and I'd see the Empire State Building. So literally that's why it's very symbolic to me. And that was the view that I got every single day, which is amazing. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew I had to do it. And I kind of I would tell people, you know, in meetings, whatever, like they'll go, how you get going and whatnot. And there was also life changes that I had experienced that I wanted to share with others about myself physically as well, that I just thought, if I can motivate or empower one person, I feel like I've done my job then on this earth. I always say I want to leave the earth a better place than when I found it. And that's why that was literally the impetus for writing this book.
That's amazing. And it's kind of the same. I have the same philosophy with podcasting. You know, even if one person's listening to this and gets something out of it, I've done my job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Apart from the fact that I just enjoy it, but if you can give something to somebody, just one person, it's already paid its way.
100%.
And so the book is about the spiritual side, the emotional side, the physical side of your journey in terms of how you achieve what you want to achieve in life.
Yeah, exactly. So I ironically actually wrote this book before COVID. And I feel like, so, and it was all about motivating other people to change their current situation. And at the time, I realized everyone always had a 5-year and a 10-year plan. And as we know, during COVID, those best 5-year plans that you had spent months on working on go out the window.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like, what are you doing today to make a difference or to change your life, so you can be a little bit closer to it tomorrow? And that's what it's about. And it's whether it's with yourself, I guess, you know, on a work level or physical level. So about my, I guess, physical journey, like as I approached 40, I started putting on lots of weight, your metabolism slows down, you don't have as much, I mean, everyone has the same amount of time, but people don't find as much time to exercise, you know,
Definitely.
you know, have kids or whatever, or busy with work. So yeah, I stacked on about 15 kilos.
Wow.
And I know, and it's people are hard to imagine, but if you look in the book, you'll see before and after photos. And so everyone goes, as I was approaching my 40th, it's like, what do you want for your 40th? And I always said, you know, hashtag abs for 40. And then like, you know, I had a few trainers before that, and it's like, oh, it can't be done. It's all very genetic, you know, abs, stuff like that. It's like, you know what? I always, if you want me to ever do something, tell me that I can't do it. I think
it sounds like that's you to a T. Like, give you a challenge and that's
absolutely. It. Yes. Just don't tell my wife that. That's all. Yeah. So then I thought I'm going to set out and achieve this. And so I literally just looked up what would work for me and came up with my own pretty much eating program. Wow. I've tried everything in the past, like from counting calories and stuff like that. For me, it was like eliminating sugar, wheat, dairy. So I know it doesn't sound like grains, it doesn't sound like much, but it is. If anyone wants to know more, I'm happy to share I think I've actually put in the book like what I kind of eat as well. And then a little bit of exercise. I was the least sportiest person growing up as well. So gyms weren't my thing. So it's like, you know, I'm not an exercise junkie by any means. I do like to exercise for like the endorphin levels and stuff. But yeah, so that's where I managed to do that. So I did get my abs for 40. I've maintained it now 5 years later. And it's just part of my lifestyle. And I think it all comes back to this healthy body, mind, and soul, spirit. And that's the thing. If you are physically feeling fit, then mentally, it's going to help you, especially in times of, you know, when I wrote this book, there was no pandemics, there was no wars. But unfortunately in our life, whether it's, you can label a pandemic or war, there's always going to be a crisis. And it's just then how to deal what's thrown to you, I guess, to get you through these ups and downs in life, because I don't think anyone's life is smooth sailing.
No, definitely. And I love the way you said that, because I think as well, it's really important to acknowledge that when one person achieves something in one realm of their life, they have the courage and the confidence to do it again in another realm. So if you've done something physically, you know, you can go start a business, or, you know, you can go and, you know, have better relationships with your family and friends. It's just like once you've done it once, and, you know, you're a great example of this, it's all about just having the discipline to do whatever you have to do, putting a plan in place, you can do it again. So that's why it's such a beautiful story, because it just basically tells everybody, whatever you want to do, put your mind to it, have some discipline, and you can achieve it.
Absolutely. 100%. I believe that, you know, and there's a saying, the worst that would happen if you reach for the moon, the worst that will happen is to land on a star.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I knew at the time, everyone goes, what, you're moving to New York at 20? It's like, you can always come home if it doesn't work out. Or, you know, you're starting your own business. If it doesn't work out, look, I'll always go and freelance somewhere or get a job part of the time or something. I just knew that, but sometimes it's better not to have a plan B, because then you feel like you've got a bit of a safety net. So it's sinking.
I agree with you.
And then, so it's always those people that have the side hustle that really are sort of have one foot on each area, but then they're never really achieving anything. So it's better to dive straight in. I think I never had a business plan. My plan was, okay, I'm going to make enough money in the call center to cover my costs every week for until like I got my first client and whatnot. And then that would help with my mortgage and stuff like that. And that was my business plan. And I knew I had to call 20 people every single day, Monday to Friday, 20 people.
Wow.
And that was it. That was my plan.
So obviously you're very good with metrics. You obviously you've got a gift for metrics and numbers, you know, that seems to me that, you know, your discipline.
I guess so. Maybe it's the economist training did pay off.
Statistics, you know, or something.
It is. But I think it's like, that's something that, you know, anyone can apply. Yeah.
I think so. You need those kind of like KPIs, really. You need just
100%. It's the same with weight loss. You do a little bit, you know, calories in versus calories out, although I don't count calories, but, you know, you can eat, as long as you're moving forward in terms of your weight loss side of things, then you'll continue to go and lose weight, I guess, if you keep doing what you're doing.
So true.
Yeah.
And the book itself, in the writing of the book, I'd love to know, what lessons did you learn about yourself that you hadn't actually known when you sat down to write the book?
Well, that's a good question.
Did you learn anything? Any what do you call them? Any epiphanies or life-changing moments?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. Like, I think number one would be that remember, not what you get in life is sometimes a wonderful stroke in luck, which I put down in the end from the Dalai Lama. And I saw that post the other day. And it's so true. It's like sometimes we go through life wanting something, and then if you don't get it, then that becomes a form of disappointment, and then you feel like you failed, and then you go on a downward spiral. So it's like, what can you do? And then I literally realized that when we are feeling sort of a bit down, what can we do to break that downward spiral to then lift ourselves back up again? And whether it's exercising or listening to music, or swimming, even the last lockdown, which I never swam through winter, but I actually really enjoy swimming. There's something about cold water and swimming and stuff like that, improving your mindset. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So things like that, I think, were like a bit of a learning lesson for me, and just reflecting on journeys that I've been through, that, this has led to me, to where all those no's, I was really disappointed, for example, when we were, the last year of uni, you apply for uni, like Unilever and AIDS and bank. And I would be in those exams, and it'd be like, I remember it'd be like, if a plane takes off at Brisbane Airport at 9 o'clock and arrives in Sydney at 10, and then another one goes to Adelaide, what time does it arrive in Tasmania? It's like, I don't know, I don't want to be a travel agent. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm the worst with that rational type thinking. Yeah. I would just be sitting there in the exams, or what's the next object in this series? Yeah. And I would just be like, and so I actually saved for a long time all these rejection letters, for university placements. And I felt really bad about myself. And then that's when I sort of had that calling. It's like, you know what? Thank God I never got a job in a bank or for uni. God love them. Unilever or one of the Procter & Gamble or anything like that, because I literally would probably just be caught up then in the rat race of life. And I would have just been stuck in a job. And for the next 5 years, changing color on a washing liquid or, detergent or an ice cream. And that's what you do. Yep. With respect to those big FMCG companies. So that's when I realized I'm not getting where I want to be there. And it just came to me. And also sometimes, the answers within, you just have to ask yourself the right questions. That's right. So sometimes taking time out, and then I realizing this more and more, everyone needs time out for themselves. And I'm not one really meditating, although I did read the other day, going to the gym or exercising is a form of meditation. So I guess
really? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's just when you're in that flow and you actually are in a state of meditation. So I can't sit there. I literally be bored. I always need to be doing something. Never can sit still for too long. And
I've done loads of meditation courses, but I fall asleep. That's my problem.
Yeah, 100%, right? I fall asleep watching TV at the best of times. So that's when, if you just sit still or you're exercising, the answers will come through to you in your subconscious mind. So that's the other thing as well, like lessons like that I learned about myself in the book. Yeah.
Like how you learned, or you articulated probably what you already knew more in terms of how can you open yourself up to receiving those subconscious messages.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've all got them. Yeah. It's just like turning on the radio. It's that intuition. Always go with your gut feeling as well. I'd say that's number 3.
I agree.
You're right. You don't have to ever doubt yourself. Yep. Yeah. Don't doubt that you think, something's not right.
And how has the book been received?
It's been great. I mean, it's been an amazing platform for me personally to, obviously, I managed to get myself worldwide media coverage for it, but I guess that's what I do for authors. So if I can't get my book on, say, a US TV breakfast show, or I've been on Canadian breakfast TV, or even, as I mentioned beforehand, been on the homepage of Channel 9 with a Daily Express in the UK, then I would be worried. But and I just love it that I feel like I've got a legacy now that I'm leaving behind, that anyone can see on Amazon or come across. And I feel like it's kind of a bit like the law of attraction. People are always honestly, last year I had a guy knock on my door. Somehow, I don't know, he stumbled across my website and he goes, "Where can I buy the book?" And it's like, "Online, do you have a copy?" And I literally had just one copy in my office. And so he tracked me down.
Wow.
And I could tell he needed it. It's like, "Here you go." He goes, "Yeah, he lost his job and he just needed a bit of guidance." And then, yeah, so it's really interesting. People like that seem to come into my life for better or worse. No, it's good. So I feel like
that's awesome.
It was very daunting in some ways. Like there was a guy standing at my door and he knew all about me and
how do you think he found out about you? How did he track you down?
I think he was just Googling. Somehow he came across my site, and then from then he was reading about the book. There's a book section on my website.
Brilliant.
And yeah, and then obviously from there my address details and whatnot for the office. So yeah, look, I feel like I've made a difference to him as well. And yeah,
that's amazing. I mean, you know, a book like this, or any book really, but a book like this particularly can really, you know, change someone's life. It's just at the right time when they need to hear or read something in particular that will just flick that switch. It can send them on a whole new trajectory and can really help somebody's life. So
without a doubt, it's always just like taking that first step, no matter what you do. So you don't have to worry about, people always think, like, for example, the New York journey, well, how are you going to get a job? Or the main thing is, firstly, just commit, like, yes, in December, I will be going to New York. That's all you need to commit to. The rest will fall into place.
The universe almost takes care of the rest of it for you.
Without a doubt, it happens that way. So if you're going to commit, I'm going to leave my job and I'm going to start my own business, commit to that wholeheartedly, and then you will start attracting other things to make that happen, whether it's clients or whatnot, or a path will be paved for you that will allow you to get like income going for yourself when, when you're first starting out.
That's awesome. I mean, sensational. I mean, really, really impressed, and congratulations on such a great book. And I hope it really, gives people a lot of value and really helps people's lives. Where can people actually buy the book?
Sure, no, absolutely. So you can get it on Amazon, or pretty much it's on Booktopia as well, Barnes and Nobles in the US, most online bookstores. If you want to read more about it, you can head to my website as well. It's just believeadvertising.com, and there's a book section there, so you can read a bit more about me. And there's links to Amazon there as well, so you can buy it through Amazon. And literally, the power of Amazon, like, you can click on it and buy the paperback, and normally it's delivered with you the next day. I know when I sent it to you, Darren, we were just saying before,
within a day.
The next day, it's crazy. So yeah, it's amazing what Amazon can do in terms of service. There's also Kindle version as well. Nice. Electronic version too, so you can jump on there and download that as well.
Nice. And I was talking to Adrian just before the show, and he's toying with the idea of recording an audio book as well. So
I will.
Stay tuned. You never know.
Absolutely, I'll have that on my goal list for this year.
Awesome. I think that'll be a great idea. But Adrian, I'd love to give everybody a bit more insight into what you do, as well as in your PR and advertising world, in case they want to work with you.
So what I essentially do is I work with people nationally here in Australia and internationally across the globe, getting them media coverage. So whether you've written a book or work in, as I say, from fashion to finance, I've worked with all industries across the last 20 years, even from ASX mining company, worked with Novak Djokovic several times with different brands, which has been an amazing experience. Yeah, and as before COVID, I realized the world is becoming a smaller place. So I actually do 2 days in one. So I work day shift, and then I have a night shift. So I have clients in the UK and Europe and US, getting them coverage. So each day somewhere in the world, I'm generating news stories for people, which is amazing. And I do it all here. I'm based in Sydney physically, but through, I guess, the power of the internet, and I've got extensive media contacts now globally that I can get someone's story out there on an international level.
Oh, that's incredible. Do you have a team that works with you, or it's, you do a lot?
I do. Like, obviously I couldn't do this myself, but I have an amazing team that help me out behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But the good thing, I think, the way I've set up my business is my day-to-day interactions with people, it's me. So you're not going to be delegated down to an account manager that often will leave after 6 months or is always out to lunch with their partner. So yes, for better or worse, you get to work with myself and I always know what's going on. And yeah, I love it. We have a lot of fun, and I just know the power of publicity. It really is becoming so important, and it's so impactful in so many ways because, back in the day, Facebook, when social media ads were taking off, some people might go down that route, which is fine, but now iOS updates, they really haven't become very effective. And there's nothing more powerful than when a news story, say, will write about you or your product, your brand, give you a direct link, which is amazing for SEO as well. Or also, as we all know, in the world that we live in, if you're going to engage like a plumber or a pest man or whatever, the first thing you jump on is Google, let me read their reviews.
Yeah.
So if you put yourself into Google and nothing comes up, then you have to think, well, what are your potential customers going to do? And that's where publicity is so beneficial, because if there's like a whole lot of news stories about you and what you've achieved in your business or your brand or your product,
Gotcha.
That's something that is so impactful and powerful as well.
Gotcha. Do you look after the actual media side of things for people if they need to actually film stuff and engineer audio, or do you have people that do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, obviously my main focus is publicity. If anyone does want a TV ad or something like that as such, I can always do that. Or they want to run a full page ad in the Sydney Morning Herald, of course, yeah, I can definitely arrange that for you, the media buying side of things as well.
Oh, right.
I just find nowadays with budgets and effectiveness, everyone's different, but a lot of my clients don't need to do paid advertising, because publicity, which is ultimately free, is a great way to get yourself out there organically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's all about really, the reach. It's just how many people can you get in front of? And you've obviously spent the last 20 years building up that network, so you know how to get people in front of the largest audience as possible.
Absolutely. It's also about, everyone's got a great story. Like, this is my story that I've just shared with you and your listeners, but everyone's got just as equally a powerful story within them. And I think I'm really good at identifying that story and making it newsworthy, and then crafting that news story to get that in front of a journalist that will then write about them. So that's everything from asking for specific photos to the right headline and the angle. So it's the culmination of all of that sort of brings it together that I can do for them too.
Love it. Well, Adrian, I really appreciate it. I think it's been, such an incredible conversation. You've inspired me to think about what's on my bucket list now. All the things that I haven't done, but it's just a matter of discipline. Set the goal in motion, and the universe will take care of the rest.
Without a doubt, yeah. Just have to believe.
I love it. But really appreciate you coming on the show. I'll make sure that I put all the links in the show notes to Adrian's book as well as his website. So grab a copy of his book. It's a great read. Feel free to work with him, or get in touch with him if you want to explore some PR and media. He's an absolute master at what he does, and his connections are incredibly diverse. And I always like to give my guest the last word. You've given us so much, but anything else you want to leave us with today, Adrian?
I would say just don't stop believing. I know it sounds really cheesy. I think there's a song like that, and I'm not going to sing it because people literally will stop listening straight away. But yeah, it really does come down to that. And if you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can, you're right. And I think that's sort of what it comes down, the main message. So
true. The power of positive thinking, the power of believing in yourself.
Yes, 100%.
It's so true. And you're a testament to that. So Adrian, really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing with the audience. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. See you.